Hello and welcome back to Mind Your Business, the show where we are broadcasting right here live from the conference floor of TSP Game Plan 2024. We're talking all things business and so on and so forth, and I am here with Cameo, is it Roberson?
Roberson.
Okay, Cameo Roberson, how are you?
I am doing fantastic, Renee.
Day 2 of the conference, what do you think?
I am still so full. Day 2, right?
Right.
We still have another day. And then I was here a day early for Mastermind.
Okay.
So it's just extra.
You know, I am new to this community. Are you?
Okay.
You've been here?
So I'm about to start my 3rd year with the Mastermind.
And I'm just always impressed by the wealth of knowledge and information, but also people's willingness to share.
Completely. You know, and as I think about how I came into the Mastermind, and it was individuals who gave willingly of their time to tell me about the Mastermind before I even joined. So that told me right away that this community was a community that was giving and I could trust it.
Tell me about your business.
So I am a fractional COO. And for those who don't know what a fractional COO is, it's a Chief Operations Officer. So my company, we rescue overwhelmed CEOs from operational chaos, remove the dysfunction from their day-to-day, adding more dollars to their bottom line.
You know, I just recently heard the term fractional CEO. I was like, what is that exactly? So I'm really glad that you explained that. So does that mean that people who are struggling in the CEO role, but they need like an extra hand, but they need somebody who has the knowledge and information of a CEO?
Absolutely. So oftentimes the CEO, who's the visionary of the company, is wearing multiple hats. Mm-hmm. And the COO is the right hand of that CEO to help them bring their vision and their ideas to life. They also act as a key integrator, making sure that the projects get done. And so for overwhelmed CEOs who are doing all the things, I come in and help give them structure so they can get those key projects done.
How long have you been doing that?
I have been doing this under my own company, Atlas Park Consulting, for a little over 5 years, but I have a background in operations and operations strategy.
Were you in corporate at one point? And then tell me about how that went, how you got to where you are.
Yes, I was in corporate for over 2 decades, working for financial services companies, in particular wealth management firms, learning the ins and outs of what goes into starting, growing, and scaling these wealth management practices. Wow. So as a lot of black women and black people in general going in corporate, I hit a lot of roadblocks, and I wasn't really given opportunities to get to the next level. So I came to a crossroads, the last firm that I was at, and I had a decision to make. And I wanted to start a business and hired a business coach because I knew there was going to come a point where this company was going to do what was in their best interest and not my own. So when that opportunity came, I was able to launch into entrepreneurship about 3 weeks after I gave notice.
Wow. So you saw this coming?
I saw it coming, Renee, and that's the sad part of working in corporate, not really giving opportunities to advance, being put in a box. And so the experience that I had over my corporate career taught me that, Cameo, there's going to come a point where you're going to have to make a decision. And I'm grateful to God that I was prepared.
Yeah. Was it scary to make that
decision? Scary, yes, absolutely. But I also felt like this was my destiny, right? I had always felt very strongly about being an entrepreneur. My problem was I didn't have an idea. I didn't know what I could, build a business upon.
Wow.
But when the moment came, I actually had peace that this is what I was supposed to do. So I jumped out. I didn't have all the answers. I had an idea of what I wanted to do, but I was determined to make it successful.
So you said you didn't know what you wanted to do being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Did it come to you at the time when things were getting shaky at the corporate job? Is that when you were like, listen, why am I not doing this? Or?
I would probably say maybe about 3 to 4 years prior when I got laid off for the second time. And I said, okay, this has happened twice now, Cameo. Do you want this to happen a third time, a fourth time? Wow. So I really started to think about how I could leverage my corporate skills and my background into a consulting practice that someone would pay me for. So that's when it started. And then I hired a business coach when I got to the last corporate job that I was at, because I was serious, because I knew experience and history told me they're going to start acting crazy.
Wow.
What you going to do?
Yeah. And they did, right?
They did.
It was almost like like it was part of the playbook.
Yeah, and that's such the story of a lot of Black entrepreneurs,
Yes.
right? You ask people here in the TSP community
Yeah.
if they were fired or let go or just didn't work out. Master P talked about how he was fired from a job.
Yeah.
So there's a theme here.
I've been hearing this. I've had all these people sitting in this chair, and I hear these same stories and these same themes. And women that have just been like, "All right, fine, I'll do it myself. I'll go out on my own and I'll do it." So good for you.
Thank
Where
you.
can people find you?
So people can find me. I'm on Instagram at Atlas Park Co. So that's ATLASPARKCO. I'm also on Facebook, Atlas Park Co. And if you're on LinkedIn, I'm also on LinkedIn under my name, Cameo Roberson.
Thank you very much, Cameo. Appreciate it, and have a wonderful 2024. Thanks for your time.
Oh, thank you so much, Renee. This was great.
And thank you for tuning in to Mind Your Business.
Okay.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Mind Your Business, the show that's being shot right here from the conference floor of TSP Game Plan 2024. I'm your host, Renee Seiler, and I'm here with Janelle Houston,
Yes.
who, get this, is from Houston.
Well, I live in Houston.
Yeah,
I'm
okay,
not a
yes.
native, but I live there, yes. That's very
Well,
true.
how are you finding the conference?
Oh, I love the conference. Every year, every event, it's like fuel to kind of get you going. The motivation is always there, but you get fired up. It's a real thing that
Yeah,
happens after
yeah.
every conference for sure.
Tell us about your business.
Absolutely. So my business is World Photo Teller Travel. It's a travel concierge company that services consumers and entrepreneurs with communities, and we help them tell amazing travel stories through retreats and fun experiences across the globe. So
When you say you help tell stories, does that mean you're collecting content, you're shooting? I mean, what is that?
well, the experience is a story. So anytime you have a travel experience, there's a start and an end, and there's always the pieces in between that are a miraculous, fun, exciting, joyful, cultural story. And so for my business clients, a lot of times that's an opportunity for them to elevate their brand. It's an opportunity for them to have engagement. You think about it, a lot of people have communities that they don't ever really get to see and meet the people. It's a virtual interaction through social media or some other interface, and so an opportunity to get together. You have people that, end up having groundbreaking, life-changing experiences, and so being able to allow them to tell those stories as part of the experiences that we help them offer and even curate, I think is a wonderful thing that everyone should be able to embody, even as a consumer or as a business client.
So, do you build out the experience?
Yeah.
So someone will come to you and they say, I want to, my company has 12 people and we want to put together an experience. You take it from soup to nuts, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I like that. So the first step is getting to know the person and getting to know the business.
Okay.
Not everyone wants to experience the same thing. And I don't force people into different things. Like what I like, everyone may not like. I'm a daredevil. I don't make my clients, bungee jump or anything crazy. But for business clients, for example, based off their brand, for example, if they focus on wellness or something that's more focused on, mindset and those types of things, we'll create an experience that caters to that, not just in the activities that they do, but also the environment. What locations really embody that type of experience? Because we've managed domestic and international experiences, so the climate matters, the surroundings matter, and the whole environment around the activities that they take on really matters.
How did you get started in that?
So I'm actually a chemical engineer, right? And so
Okay.
and so the interesting thing is my story, it has a lot of pieces, but specifically to that one, I've done a lot of international travel for corporations I've worked for. And so I've been able to see how we have been able to create experiences but still talk business and still, allow people to understand the local culture and be able to experience a lot of local things while also being able to get away from home, leave the distractions aside, because when you can go and drive home, you're probably going to do so. But when you step away and you're in a place where someone else has to take care of the emergency, or where you really just completely embody yourself in the experience, it's a different outcome.
Right.
So those are some of the key things. But the other part, I've been traveling as I traveled as an unaccompanied minor from the time I was 8 years old.
Wow.
Yes, so my parents divorced. My father moved to Atlanta when I was around 8, and so I was traveling here. And my mother ended up working for an airline in my late teens, so I was able to travel, that way. So travel has always been a part of my life story. And then I've always loved experiencing new things, and so my own personal travels led people to ask me for advice on experiences, and so eventually my heart of service led me to saying, let's create a business and really formalize this so it makes sense for others.
How can people find you?
So World Photo Teller is my handle on social media platforms, and that's the best way to reach out, or worldphototellertravel.com is the best way to get a glimpse of what we do and understand who we serve the best.
I love it. Well, thank you, Janelle. Thank you so much for taking the time and sharing with us. Good luck this year, 2024, and hope to see you soon.
Absolutely.
From somewhere in the world.
Yes, that's my favorite place to be, somewhere in the world.
And thank you for tuning in to another episode of Mind Your Business. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome back to another edition of Mind Your Business. I'm your host, Renee Seiler, and this is the show that's being shot right here from the conference floor at TSP Game Plan 2024. And I am here with Luvina Sabri.
Yes, ma'am.
Did I say it right?
Yes, ma'am, you
Okay.
did.
Hi, how are you?
I am well, thank you.
How's the conference been for you?
Oh, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Master P was on fire.
That's what I heard.
Yes.
That's what I heard.
Yes.
Tell us about your business.
So the name of my business is Bomb Ass Lemonade. I know. I was going to name it Amazing Lemonade, but my 30-some-year-old daughter, she was like, no, Ma, you need to call it what it is. It's the bomb. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to let them words flow, but as you can hear, they flow like good. So Bomb Ass Lemonade, and it's lemonade that gives a damn because we hire adults with disabilities, specifically special needs.
Really?
Yes, to work. Mm-hmm.
And so when you say we hire adults with special needs, do you mean like in the actual production?
Yeah, to make the lemonade. Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you what happened. I was working at, I was teaching them employability skills at my restaurant, and I knew that I couldn't hire, like all 50 of them. And so I was like, where you gonna work? After I teach you these employability skills, and they was like, nowhere, and it got quiet. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they was like, don't nobody hire us because of our abilities. And I was like, oh no, I knew that I had to do something. So with me, being a registered nurse and knowing that people with cognitive abilities like repetition, lemonade is nothing but repetition, I was like, this is what I got to do. And so that was 2019, and we finally launched last year.
How did you come up with? I mean, so you're saying the lemonade. I get that piece, but what was it that drove you to this? To I got to do something to give back to this community.
Okay, first of all, I was just ignorant, unaware of the community. Period. And I didn't know that they couldn't. Well, I wasn't ignorant or unaware of the community. I was unaware that they didn't get hired. That's what I was unaware of. And so when I was teaching them these employability skills and I asked them, where are you going to work? They said nowhere. So I knew with me, that's just who I am as a person. I had to do something. And so that's when I started from 2019 working on this lemonade company, the branding and everything.
And what did you do before this?
I'm a chef and I'm a registered nurse, so yeah, and then I do events.
So it seems like all of your skills in the medical profession as
Yeah.
well as a chef
Yeah.
came together.
Yes,
to
yes,
make it.
yes.
Okay.
Isn't that wonderful?
So do you feel like you're walking in your purpose?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Mhm.
What is it like when you teach someone teach the employability skills, and then you are able to hire them to make the bomb-ass lemonade,
Yes.
and you are making a real difference in their lives? What's that feel like to you?
It feels good. There is no amount of money that could ever replace that feeling of gratitude that you feel knowing that you're taking care of another human being. And I'll give you a quick example. I have some of the students, they were what you consider nonverbal, and he was a pacer as well. And every time he paced, I just give him something to do so he wouldn't have to pace. And so one time he was standing at the door and he was just standing there. And I'm like, why is he standing here at this door? And he said, Merry Christmas, Miss Lavina. Miss you. And he said that 3 times. Man, I looked at him and I was like, oh my God, I don't even celebrate Christmas. But I was like, Merry Christmas. I was so excited. And I could not lock that door fast enough. So when I locked the door, I just burst into tears and started crying. And my husband's like, babe, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I was like, he spoke to me. And my husband, he was like, okay. And I was like, no, he's nonverbal. He don't speak. That's huge. So that right there made me feel really good. And I don't think I would ever forget it.
Wow, that is amazing. Okay, where do we buy bomb-ass lemonade?
You buy bomb-ass lemonade online, BOMBAZZ lemonade.com.
All right.
Yeah, and we ship all over the nation.
I love it. Okay, how can folks find you?
Again, bomb-ass lemonade. On TikTok and social media, on Instagram and Facebook.
You just make me feel I'm all glowy and warm and fuzzy. Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Really, really amazing.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful 2024.
Yes, thank you.
And thank you for tuning in to another episode of Mind Your Business. Hello and welcome back to another edition of Mind Your Business, the show that's shot right here from the conference floor at TSP Game Plan 2024. I'm your host, Renee Seiler. I am here with Alviana Brewster of Dallas, Texas.
Yes,
How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And what do you think about the conference? Are you
Listen,
having a
it's
good time?
fantastic. The things that we love: food, folks, and fun, and business. Okay, we can't get any better than that.
Our show is called Mind Your Business, so tell me about your business.
Absolutely. So I am a nurse by trade. About 18 years into the nursing field, and around 2015, I got this nice message from God to say, hey, I want you to get other black nurses together in order to create businesses, in order to network, communicate, teach each other, and just help to empower each other in our businesses. So I created Black Nurse Entrepreneurs. It is the premier organization for black nurses interested in launching, building, and growing their businesses worldwide. Wow. And we service businesses that are in all stages of business and all types of business. So a lot of people think just because we're nurses that we only do healthcare related businesses.
That's exactly was my next question.
And we don't. We
Yes.
do all businesses. The common thread and the common theme is that we're nurses. And I wanted to show us that nursing is not the only thing that we can do at the bedside. In other words, we can do so much with the type of skill set and knowledge that we have.
That is amazing. I'm really glad you said that, because when you said nurse and business in the same kind of sentence, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people think nurse, they think hospital, but
They do.
tell me about what nurses do in terms of their businesses. Like,
Sure.
give me some examples.
Well, I think it's important to understand what nurses do as a whole before we even get to the business part. You'll find nurses in almost every sector and segment in the country. We're at sports arenas, we are in law offices, we're at major corporations. We're doing a lot, right? And so it's how do you turn that knowledge and that expertise into a business? So my nurses have businesses that are like CPA schools, CPR. We have a lot of consultants, authors. We have people that do Airbnb and trucking industry, things like that. Things that you wouldn't think a nurse is doing, we do.
Yeah, yeah. I think, have you been an outside of the box thinker for
Yes.
your life?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I always kind of challenge things and like, can we do this differently, or can we do it better? Or I don't think I want to do it like everybody else is doing. Let me find something unique to do. So it has truly been, we always say that nursing is a calling, and I also believe that nurse entrepreneurship has been my calling as well, because it has allowed me to empower other nurses to create generational wealth and health through our expertise as a nurse.
Wow.
So that's the fun part about it, for sure.
When they are nurse entrepreneurs, are they necessarily tied to kind of the trends and whatnot that's happening in nursing? Like, for example, if you're an entrepreneur, you're free to kind of do some of the things that maybe you wouldn't necessarily be as free to do if you were working for someone else, right?
Sure. So I'm going to answer this in two different ways, right? Our catchphrase is "We are the trend," and I said that a couple of years ago, back when the whole craze with the whole Popeye's chicken craze, right? And I told my nurses, I said, hey, are we gonna go and buy chicken, or are we gonna maybe invest in the stock market? And so at the end of that post, I said, we are the trend. We represent, like, we don't follow trends, but we are the trend. And so my goal for my community was to get us to believe that we set the trends that everybody else follows. We don't necessarily follow everything everybody else is doing. However, with that being said, business has ebbs and flows and different things that we have to pay attention to. So, for instance, like with AI and the way software is going and automations and things like that, absolutely we pay attention to those things, but I also challenge them to think outside of the box. How can we maybe incorporate AI with our nursing skill set and go into these hospitals to help provide better care for our communities or for our patients in the hospital systems? So I push them to look at the trends, but also become the trend.
Yes.
Become the thing that everybody else is following. You don't necessarily have to follow what others are doing.
Wow, I love it. How can we find you?
Listen, I am across all social media platforms, okay? At Black Nurse Entrepreneurs, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm on TikTok dancing and going on. And I also have a website, blacknurseentrepreneurs.org.
Very, very good. Thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful 2024.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate you.
Absolutely.
And thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
And thank you for joining us for another edition of Mind Your Business. everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Mind Your Business, the show where we're shooting it right here from the conference floor of TSP Game Plan 2024. And I am here with Shirley McAlpine. Hi, how are you?
Hello, hi, I'm well.
What do you think of the conference so far?
It's fantastic.
Yeah?
It's fantastic.
You've been here before, too.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, you're part of the mastermind
I'm
community,
part of
right?
the mastermind.
How long have you been involved in this community?
4 years. So 2020, I joined when it was in the pandemic. So I joined when we were on, when it was virtual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about your business. The show's called Mind Your Business, so tell us about your business.
Yeah. So I have a global consultancy and in leadership development, organizational development, and executive coaching. And I also specialize in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I have like a focus on a couple of areas. One is working with organizations that like solve for some of the most pressing issues, like climate advocacy, sustainable energy, the water sector, education, as well as some of the kind of Fortune 100s, foundations, etc.
wow.
Yeah, and then the other is focused around women's leadership, and a lot of the executive leadership coaching that we provide is for women leaders, sometimes women of color leaders, and really we have a particular experience around that. So the other thing, I've been doing it a long time, you know, and so working like with organizations, and then we're now just starting to move into this year. We've just launched a program that's offering direct to women leaders themselves. So bringing all that experience. It's been 30 years of doing that work, and then decided to launch a program called the Brilliant Woman Mastermind.
So how did you get to this place? Did you have something in corporate at all, and then you dovetailed into this, or how did you get to
do the work that I'm doing? It's a long time. I started working for myself in 1999. So I was 29 years old at that point. And so at that point I'd been working for myself for 8 years. Because after graduation, I graduated at 21. And but I had been working for organizations. The job that I left before I started my own business was in a boutique consultancy, and I got to a point where, and I had previous roles in leading a not-for-profit program that was an education program for Black and Asian high achievers, and then and before that I was learning and development manager in the NHS, National Health Service, in a hospital in London. And so I had been in the field of learning and development, and then I just got to a point where I was like, I want to do this by myself. I was 29. I was just like, why are we working 5 days a week?
I love
this like long day. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing it this way? Why can't we do it another way? And I really felt like I wanted to have some freedom. And I also noticed that all the roles that I had were roles that no one else had done before.
Wow.
So they were all of them were new roles that I'd stepped into to create. And then once it got running, then I lost interest and I went on to another role, which was a new role. And so I was always attracted to that. So I was like, actually I had the entrepreneurial spirit
from the beginning.
And then and then I just wanted to out.
What do you think, what do you tell your clients in terms of, you mentioned your leadership development for women of color.
Right.
Why is that so needed and so necessary?
Oh my God. I coach all women leaders, all leaders. In fact, I have male clients as well, but I think the story of women of color leaders it's so hard to be a woman of color in leadership. And I think part of it is in the trajectory to become a leader, a lot of the women think, oh, when I get there, it's going to be different. When I get there, I'm going to have more power because I see people who hold those positions having power. And then when we have power, I can exercise that power. Or when I get there, I'll be able to influence what's happening. When I get there, so fill in the blank, I'll have more money, so it won't be so hard. But actually, the experience of women of color is very different from white leaders, for example. and you walk in the room, people don't expect you to be the leader. They're looking somewhere else, and then when you tell them that they're still looking somewhere else, they're like,
Yeah.
and to have that experience, being doubted, being the only one, being alone, being frustrated, being undermined sometimes, being tested so many times.
Wow.
And I've had the experience as well as a consultant where, I've worked in global organizations, with global organizations where there's many of us in the system delivering programming, like for leaders, senior leaders or C-suite. And then I remember having a conversation with one of my colleagues who was a white male, and we were talking about how the assessment process was, how we got in the room. And I was saying, well, I had an interview, there was a panel, I had to do a presentation, and then they asked me to coach. The person on the panel, he said, right, I want you to coach me for 20 minutes and get me through some issue. And I was like, okay. And then after that, there was the kind of standard interviews. And he said, oh, that's really, he goes, wow. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I walked into the room and the guy said to me, well, I see we're about to get on. And then he took me out for a drink.
Wow.
And I was like,
Wow.
Wow.
Come on.
And we may be in the room at the same time, but our journey into that room was very, very different.
Wow.
And I think that is the experience of a lot of women leaders. And so when I'm coaching execs, one of the two fundamental differences when I'm coaching execs, women leaders, we're often dealing with how are you surviving the environment?
Yes.
What are the strategies that you need to duck and dive and deal with what's coming at you? And at some point, we start to explore, is this a place for you?
Oof. Wow.
And if it is a place for you. Now, some people stay because there are multiple reasons why you have to stay. I've got a job, I've got kids, I've got bills to pay,
Yeah.
I've got, education, all of that stuff. And so some people stay way too long.
Yeah. Wow.
I have so many stories. Some people stay way too long.
I know. Wow.
And then so it's not my place to say anyone should go. So,
Yeah.
but we explicitly question. I always want to raise the question: is this a place for you? And it says, I need to stay. Okay, if you're going to stay, how do we take care of you, and how do you take care of yourself as you
kidding.
stay? Because you can't pretend it's not happening.
No. Yeah.
And
So
that's part of the challenge.
how can people find you? How do we find you? On socials and on LinkedIn?
I'm actually on LinkedIn. I'm Shirley McAlpine.
Okay.
She's got Drive podcast on Instagram. I am Shirley McAlpine on TikTok. And then it's my website, Shirley McAlpine and Associates.
We will find you.
You can find me.
Shirley, thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Yes, and good luck to you in 2024,
Yeah.
and hope to see you at TSP Live. in
Oh, you
June.
will. Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for joining us for another episode of Mind Your Business. Hello and welcome back to Mind Your Business. And by the way, I'm saying welcome back, but this is actually goodbye for now. Thank you so much for spending the last couple of days with us as we've had an opportunity to sit and chat with people about their businesses, what they see in terms of trends for 2024, what they hope to accomplish, what they've done, how they pivoted. I think it's just been a fascinating couple of days. We have live streamed this, but you'll also be able to see this content on the Convo in the future. Thank you again for spending time with us, and we will see you next time.